Kia ora and welcome to a special bonus edition of the Distil-Nation NZ podcast. I'm Cameron and I'm joined by my friend and head distiller here at Herrick Creek, Tom. Tom, what are we doing here today?
I'm really excited that we get to do a bonus episode because we get to talk about one of my own whiskies today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is we are talking about my Heritage Series Waimak Blue Corn Whisky.
We should probably point out at this point, it's a one of a kind.
Yeah.
And to your knowledge, never been done before in New Zealand.
Yeah, to my knowledge, never been done. And so right here in front of us, I mean, if you're looking at this on video on YouTube, you can see this is a half-empty bottle. This is our tasting bottle. Right. But I've gone ahead and I've given you the pleasure of unwaxing this one for yourself, if you like. So
okay, now you have left me a tab.
Yeah.
So let's see. No,
I think I've actually done this properly. So if you could pull the tab.
The other way. There we go.
You should be able to actually pull and unseal it.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, I was ready this time. I wanted to have a proper, easy to open wax seal, which is pretty rare.
Okay, so you've done the barrel dump. You have bottled it all.
Yep. And
I just want to say that I have not actually. This is going to be my first time trying this. Everything is going to be very much unrehearsed, unscripted. Not that anything that we do is scripted. Okay, so for starters, tell me how many bottles did you actually get?
So this is a really small batch. It's only 28 bottles that are made available. That's it. That's all we've got. So once these 28 bottles are gone, it's done. There's no more blue corn. There's no more blue corn aging. This is it. This is the one of a kind.
See, the wax seal, that's a nice touch. If you've bought any of Herrick Creek products before, even your limited edition whiskey, they haven't been wax sealed. So why are you going this extra special step?
Well, I figure with a wax seal, you kind of get that extra that feeling that this is something you could let sit if you really wanted to. You know, this is not something you need to open up and drink right away. This is a one of a kind thing, and if you do not want to open it, you don't have to. But I highly suggest you do. But you know, when you get a really high grade wine, you know, from Europe and stuff, it always has that wax seal on it. It's something it's just entombed, you know, it's entombing something special. So I didn't feel like a plastic shrink wrap would do it justice, you know. And I put a lot of effort into making this from scratch by hand, and there's really nothing in this process that's been wasteful or harmful to the environment or anything like that. It's been a very dirt to glass sort of whiskey. So a wax seal just kind of finishes that up, doesn't it? Nice.
Now let's jump back for a second, because most of the time you're buying grain. You buy it in bulk. Somebody else has done the hard graft of growing those grains and then malting them and getting them ready. Not so with this one.
No, this one I had to spend a few years actually getting the corn. So I was scouring gardening groups and gardening websites and all sorts to find different corn varieties. And the Blue Hoppy variety is one that I found with a little bit more abundance than any other one that I could find at the time. So I got what I could get my hands on, which was not much, maybe a couple dozen kernels, a couple dozen seeds, and actually planted them in my backyard. So my wife wasn't too happy with me over a couple of summers when I filled our backyard with corn plants growing everywhere. But I will say they've kind of become a staple in our household now. Every summer we look forward to the corn kind of growing in our backyard. But at the time it wasn't exciting.
Because you don't have a big backyard.
So yeah, those first couple seasons of growing and propagating the corn seed was just kind of learning what it is and how it grows and how fast is it and how big are the cobs and all this sort of thing. Because
basically, so you're growing it just so that you can have the seeds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and the corn seeds are the kernels, the stuff that you eat.
Exactly. Yeah. So those kernels you'd eat with sweet corn.
Yeah.
They're nice and soft. If you leave them dry, they harden up, and that's your seed actually. So That's what you actually plant in the ground.
That's a big risk to do a whole lot of growing to try and get enough seed to then, to be growing all of this knowing that this is long-term planning.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's nothing short-term about it today. I wish we could have found somebody who did grow it, but nobody grows it in New Zealand. So, to get it in from overseas, it's possible, but if you're making New Zealand whiskey, I feel like you got to use New Zealand grain. It's just a personal opinion, and I'm really happy that I was able to do it this way for this one. So, after a couple of years of propagating that seed, I was lucky enough to get a friend in the Waimak area, hence the name Waimak Blue. And he loaned us some land. He said, "Go for it. This is all yours." He was nice enough to plow the field. He made it really nice and clean for me. He said, "Go at it." And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any machinery, so I walked out there with my little bag of seeds, maybe a pound or two of seeds or something like that. And I got on the ground and I started poking them in one by one, hands and knee, poke, poke, poke. And I did that for about a half acre. And I do remember at the end of that day, my fingers just bloodied with, just the dirt. You don't actually think about how much friction is involved with sticking your finger in the ground 1,000 times or whatever.
But you do it for a half acre and you know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is literally blood, sweat, and tears going into this endeavor.
Literally, yeah.
Okay, so you have gotten the seed yourself, you've grown it yourself, all of the work involved, because I'm taking it that your friend wasn't maintaining that plot for you.
Nope.
So that's all you as well.
Yeah, so there was no, I didn't know what you do with corn. I just kind of figured you leave it and great, you get a cornfield. You always see beautiful cornfields as you drive down the road. It's not like that. if you leave your corn, it just becomes a field of weeds, which of course it does, but why would it not? But you just always see a perfect cornfield when you're driving down the road, and you just expect that. So I learned very quickly that I had to do something about that. And my great plan was to use a lawnmower.
Okay, on the weeds.
On the weeds. So luckily I had made the rows just big enough to fit a push mower right through there. And so by this time, though, at this point, the weeds had gotten quite high. So it was quite a lot of work to, you're pushing, and it was a big sweat. But I got through it all, and it seemed to keep the weeds down enough. But at the end of the year, it wasn't a beautiful field, I'll tell you that. The corn was beautiful, but the field wasn't. It wasn't a pristine cornfield you see on the side of the road,
Did you start this business to become a farmer?
I don't think so. But some part of me just always knew it was going to happen, I think.
This is just what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I guess this is a great opportunity to ask, why? Why go for, because there's plenty of corn available, and you do, with Dusky series, you have made a corn whiskey before. Why are you trying to find a corn that isn't established here, is very difficult to grow, and to then put in the effort to try and do all of this, push the water uphill yourself to try and get to this point?
I think there's something wrong with my head, Cameron. I don't think there's another answer for it. I mean, I haven't made enough Dusky whiskey to be available yet, and yet still I'm working on blue corn whiskey and red corn whiskey and such, so I don't know exactly what's going on up in my brain, but there's just this, when I started hobby distilling, before I opened the distillery, the first time I made a corn mash and trying to make a corn whiskey, just something in my brain clicked, and suddenly I was in love with corn, and something about this yellow, bland vegetable just turned into something fascinating to me. And as I started finding out that there were other varieties over in America and such that were colorful and beautiful, and I remember growing up, I'd go to like a state fair in the fall or in the autumn, and there'd be like colorful corn hanging all over the place, and I just remember it was ornamental sort of thing. But now these corn varieties existed, and they're actually tons of flavor to them, but they're just smaller cobs, or they're not great yields, or they don't go in a certain environment the right way. But they're bloody good corn, and they all have a little bit of a different flavor to them. And blue corn, I can tell you, is a different flavor to your yellow corn. And I think maybe you should have a smell.
Well, yeah. If you're going to introduce the flavor like that, I think having let this just sit.
Because it's
Oh,
yeah. When I smelt this for the first time, I opened up the barrel, and I thought, wow. Like, I didn't know, when I put it into the barrel, it was already funky enough, you know. And I thought, this is funky. And I've had some other blue corns that were made overseas, but they do have similar notes. But I find this one is just turned up to 11 on these notes, and I'm having a hard time describing exactly what it is, but it's got a grape note to it. You know, to me, it's got a grape. I mean, the oak is certainly present.
yes. And there's a sweetness there that kind of tells you that it's corn, but unlike most other bourbons or your corn whiskey, which is very much kind of straight vanilla caramel, this isn't.
It's not. No, it's totally different, isn't it?
There is something. Now, before people start talking about a barrel influence, this hasn't been put into like an ex-sherry or any kind of fruity or fruit-filled wood.
No, this is new American oak, hard American oak. That's it, one barrel.
So I shouldn't be getting blueberry ice cream.
Well, no, this is it. And when I put it into the barrel, I think I said if something could smell blue, this is it. It smells blue, but it's clear, of course. You know, it's clear going in.
Yeah.
But it does kind of smell blue, right? Like, that's the only way I could say. If you have a blue Gatorade and you smell it and you taste the blue Gatorade, you know it's going to be a blue Gatorade. You know.
Yeah.
This is that kind of, but for whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You smell this. This is a blue whiskey. You know.
Yeah. That is really odd. But it is. It's almost like it's almost dessert-like.
It is, yeah.
Blueberry pie, bit of cream.
Yeah, it's got that almost a portness to it.
Yes, but not quite, because it doesn't have those traditional.
Not the red notes.
No, that's exactly it. Like the kinds of plums or cherries or those kinds of flavors that you would get from a port finished whiskey.
Yeah,
it doesn't have that.
It was like if it was a blueberry port.
That is remarkable. So you've said, one of the reasons that these heritage varieties of corn aren't all that well established are the challenges with growing them, and the amount of yield that you can actually get. What was the yield like when you finished growing your half acre?
So out of the field that I grew, if I remember correctly, I think I got about a 25% yield, a 30% yield out of the field, which was pretty poor. For a half acre, you can just imagine that's a pretty small amount of corn to actually get out of it. And so after I had tasted it though, and sort of tested a little bit of the flour ground up, I sort of decided this can't go on its own. It's a pretty bold flavor. So what we've done with this is I've taken, it's a 51% blue corn and it's 49% malted barley. I can't actually taste any malted barley.
But the malted barley that's just going to help bulk it out and actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It gives it a nice base. To not just be overpowered completely by the blue corn. And my understanding is most distillers, if they're using blue corn, they're actually using it as a highlighting grain or a specialty grain. 5 to 10% of the mash bill usually. Okay. Because it is quite potent. I wanted to test that though. I wanted to see exactly how potent is it. And this definitely taught me.
So what size barrel did it go into?
So it's a 5-gallon, 20-liter barrel. So it's a nice small little barrel. We were able to test that in. We had an 18% angel share.
Oh, that hurts.
That's only over 2 years as well. So they had 9% a year, which is pretty big. But I think it was worth it in the end. I mean, I think there's a lot learned from this, and I think it's one of those unique ones that I think is just. I don't know if I could even replicate this, to be totally honest. It's special.
I'm definitely getting some of that real purple grape.
Yeah, exactly. Purple grape, eh? Yeah. I did get that too. When I was boiling it up, that's exactly what I was thinking.
This is intriguing. All right, so what strength did it come in at out of the barrel, and what have you bottled it at?
Yeah, so 53.8% of the barrel, and it's gone into the bottle at 46, just over 46, I think it's 46.1%.
See, at 18% Angel's share, I would have expected an ABV at somewhere around 60.
Yeah, we get, and I do see that in my other barrels too. I usually see the water drop off and the alcohol go up. But in this one, for some reason, it was sort of an equal share of water and alcohol, because I put it into the barrel at 54%, and I lost 0.2% of alcohol. So that's a fairly even drop, which is quite different. But I don't know, and it's a different barrel than I usually use. It's a different a Cooper that I use for this one. It's which I think it's the thinner staves on this one must have had an impact on that Angel share, which live and learn.
One big experiment. All right, so 46.
Yeah,
here we go.
He's going for it. And so what we're going to do with this one, while you're having a first taste of this, watching your face, just he's not too sure what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on with the sale of it while you're tasting that and thinking about it. So we've only got 28 bottles of this. We're going to test the ballot system for this one, and you might have seen that at some other distilleries around the world. It's just because we have not enough whiskey for the number of people who want to buy the whiskey at this point, which I'm really grateful for. So thank you everybody for being so eager and keen. I'm really excited about what we've got coming up. But this is just a more fair way of getting the whiskey out to more people who might not check their emails or social media just on the moment of release or something like that, and then it gets sold out, and then those people might not see it. So all this is you go onto our website, you buy a ballot, which is free actually, it's just free, you buy it, but it's just so we can collect your information so I know who to contact. And then on the release date, which is November 1st for this, I'm actually just going to draw them at random, 28 people, and then those people will just get an invoice and pay it, and they'll get shipped to you. So it's pretty easy. What do you think?
What on earth? It was packed, absolutely packed with flavour. I love whiskey with a bit of body and a bit of texture. If it feels watery, even if the flavour is there, I'm still kind of thinking like, eh. And that is thick, and it's got this lovely oil that just coats your palate and holds that flavour on. But it took me on a wild ride, and I did not know whether it was kind of... There was definitely almost like grape soda up front, and then coming through into some of the more desserty, that almost that blueberry pie with cream. I did pick up some of, I guess maybe those more quote unquote here traditional notes like vanilla. Did get a bit of caramel also right at the end. But that is all in all. If you're buying this bottle just to hold on to it, you're wasting it. You are absolutely wasting it, because this is one of the more intriguing whiskies I have had this year.
Well, thank you. That's high praise. I think the intriguing is a key word. It is,
yeah.
There is a lot of layers to this one, and it's so different to anything that we would ever try. Really, that to sort of unpack the flavors is like it's difficult. You need to sit with this one.
Oh, you absolutely do, and I think pouring it and letting it just breathe for a second was absolutely the right call.
I think 46% is really good for it. I think 53 would have been probably a bit too strong for it.
I'm one to advocate for a higher ABV, but I can totally appreciate that. Talking our most recent conversation with Anthony at Divergence, and he's talking about that slow gin barrel finished whiskey, and he's talking about no flavour left behind, and that is ramped up. But I think, and that's also he says it may well be a world first, if not a New Zealand first, a whiskey finished in a slow gin barrel. And yeah, I can kind of take the point there. Would it have been a mate? Did you try it at 53?
Yeah, I did. It's strong.
Yeah. No, but I do think because it is not something that consumers here are going to be incredibly familiar with.
Yeah.
I think just tempering it just a touch, probably the right call.
Yeah, it is quite potent. I'm not potent in the alcohol per se, but potent
just
in the flavor.
Flavor filled.
Yeah, and I think so. I think that 46 is fine. I think a little bit of water.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Already. I mean, there wasn't a big bite on the nose,
No.
but even so, it's just made it this summer fruit salad of.
Well, I remember the day I planted the corn. I took a picture of the bag of seed next to the field just before I started planting it, and I posted it on Instagram. And I said, "Craft whiskey crawls for craft ingredients." And I do think, a lot of the corn we use, the malted corn, yellow corn we use, from Gladfield and the barley and all that is very local and is craft for sure. But I think there's another level we can take it to nowadays. There's no reason we can't all go out and try weird and funky grains and do weird things and push whiskey, into a different direction, And I think this is great. I love where this is headed in that new. It's still clearly a whiskey.
Yes.
And there's nothing else to it except for grain and a barrel and and yeast, and there it is. It's just different, isn't it? I mean, and it's not it's not like I came up with some sort of new grain or anything. It's corn, It's corn and barley, and yeah, I think the flavors in there are just totally unique. I'm gonna hit that dead horse a few more times. Sorry, by saying it's so unique.
No, well. And you should be proud of it. You absolutely should, because it does not get more craft than poking a half-acre work of holes with your finger.
Yeah.
Adding some of that water in there brought out more of a chocolatey note that wasn't there before.
Oh.
But it hasn't diminished any of those other, like grape and blueberry, and there's definitely. I know, bringing Anthony back into it, there was one of his, and he said chantilly cream, and I think that was because there's a creamy element, but it's also like a wee bit flavoured with vanilla.
Oh yeah,
and it's not a hardcore vanilla flavour,
yeah.
but it's a very light kind of creamier vanilla flavour.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I could see that in this absolutely.
So I can I'll borrow somebody else's tasting cues. I'm
Right,
happy
yeah.
to. Now, as you have indicated, just because of the struggles involved with actually planting, yield, getting all of those things, the blue hoppy corn is unlikely to be reproduced.
At the moment, I have not put any plans to grow it again. I planted that same field the year after with red bloody butcher corn, and the differences were pretty night and day. The blue corn suffered from a lot of pests, especially cornworm, which is a very invasive and quite frankly, it's quite gross to deal with kind of worm. It gets into the husk and you open it up and you've just got worms living inside your cob.
Ugh.
It's not beautiful. And that was in a lot of cobs on this plant, so we lost this batch, so we lost a lot of cobs, obviously. But the next year, I didn't see one single cornworm in the red corn. Whether that's some sort of environmental factor or what, I don't know. But to me, that was a big detriment, that cornworm. And the fact that we couldn't leave it in the field long enough to get it dry, for it to sort of self-dry in the field. It's a huge task to get all that corn off the cob when it's green, hang it up somewhere and let it dry. And it's a huge task to do that without the proper equipment. So yeah, it's not really the right environment for it in the South Island. So I think if we can find some partners around the country, maybe up in the north, anybody knows anybody, get in touch. I don't have that much seed, but I've got enough that you could do a little plot or something. We could try it again for sure, because I'd love to try it in New Zealand because it is a super unique flavor. And in a couple more years, but I will have something to compare it to, because this year I have done another blue corn whiskey with Mexican blue corn. So we've brought in some Mexican blue corn. But that one's 100% blue corn as well. So that'll be interesting to see how that compares to this.
That's in barrel?
It's in the barrel.
See, now, at least now you're giving us something to look forward to. So if you do miss out on one of the 28 bottles available for this, know that there is still going to be... this is great. You've got your Explorer series that you're importing, and now you've got a Heritage series of weird, wacky, wonderful corn varietals that you're taking it upon yourself to grow and then turn into whiskey.
Mate, we could have done a whole episode on corn varieties, and maybe we should someday. I think it's quite interesting. I could talk about them for hours, for sure. By next year, even people can look forward to the next one, which would be a red corn. It's Bloody Butcher. And I'm trying to remember if that one's mixed with barley or not off the top of my head. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But that one I have more of. I can tell you that. I do have more of that one. And that one was, again, a totally different flavor to this one. That red corn turned out differently. So, this is going to be a fun series, but it's obviously a long-term experiment to see how this goes.
Well, you've given all of the plugs, but I guess this episode here is just going to serve as a, capture, given that there are only 28 bottles and then it's done, this will capture this moment in time of the first ever blue corn whiskey to be grown and made in New Zealand.
Let it be known, everyone. Let it be known.
Well,
the date is the 24th of October. Now, the ballot's open today, and it's going to go until October 31st at midnight. After that, we'll run the ballot. If there's not enough ballots taken up, and there's still some bottles available, then we'll just put that up on social media, and people can have a look then. And if you do want to try it, there's a chance I might have some at the farmer's market. There's a chance, but we'll see how it all pans out.
That will be the under the table one that you've got to know about to ask,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's probably a good idea. Yeah. If you know about it, come see me and ask for it. Yeah.
Well done on creating something truly different and quite unique. This is
Thank you.
something else.
Yeah.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.